Hi, I'm Shane Jones. Making headlines tonight, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley reveals Barbados' new position on the financially troubled airline LIAT. An historic decision clearing the way for women to be at the helm of the Anglican Church. Small businesses looking to take greater advantage of crop over. And coming up in sports, Sri Lanka gets off the mark at the World Cup after a mini scare from Afghanistan.
Newsnight Headlines was brought to you compliments Omega XL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Leading the news at 7, Barbados will be giving up its majority shareholding in struggling regional carrier LIAT. In a ministerial statement from the floor of Parliament this evening, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley announced that the Cabinet has taken a decision to enter into negotiations with Antigua and Barbuda for the transfer of the majority of its 49.4% stake in LIAT. She says she will be writing to Prime Minister Gaston Brown and a negotiation team will be formed, which will be led by Attorney General Dale Marshall. Prime Minister Motley outlined Barbados' position once the negotiations are successful.
Indeed, we continue to be committed to LIAT and will, 1, maintain a minimum shareholding in LIAT should we reach an agreement with our sister government for them to take over our shareholding with respect to the negotiations. 2, that we will continue to provide a minimum revenue guarantee, or I shouldn't say continue, we will provide a minimum revenue guarantee on any route that is uncommercial, unprofitable, recognizing, however, that the majority of routes that Barbados is involved in is in fact profitable within LIAT. And it is against this background, Mr. Speaker, our commitment continues such that within the last few weeks, the government of Barbados would have sent a further $1 million Barbados to LIAT and would also have satisfied our commitments to the Caribbean Development Bank with respect to the refleeting of LIAT.
Prime Minister Motley says Barbados must take a step back at this time, as LIAT cannot function effectively given its current structure. She says the island can still play a vital role as a minimum shareholding government.
Many are aware that LIAT has found it difficult with continuous losses to keep flowing and to keep its head above water. Indeed, many of the studies that have been done, many predating our existence as a government, make it absolutely clear that the current model which LIAT has within the 1974 Limited is not an attractive model, and that what is needed is significant restructuring, indeed a new model of governance, a new financial model, and a new operational model in order for it to be able to extract greater benefit and to provide the services which it does.
Listen to this. The Barbados Secondary Schools Entrance Examination, commonly referred to as the 11 Plus, could soon be no more. Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley says she has tasked Minister of Education Santia Bradshaw with overseeing the exam's abolition and replacement. The announcement was made at the Barbados Labour Party's first anniversary rally at Carlisle Car Park in Bridgetown.
All of us out here know the iniquity of the 11 Plus. All of us know that you can't discard people at 11 and 12 years old, like if they're going on the dump heap of life. And everybody telling them, oh, you ain't pass and you going to this and that. We have reached a point where we need to reject an approach to education that was settled by the British in the 1940s. I wanted to do it when I was there. That's why you had partial zoning. But we never got to go the full hog. We shall now make the full journey to revolutionize our educational system.
Okay, now we return to news from the lower house, where parliamentarians have been debating changes to the value-added tax bill. They involve writing off outstanding VAT payments, penalties and interest between 1996 and 2000, as well as the waiver of penalties and interest from 2001 to 2017. Our Lisa Broom has been following the debate and joins us now with more. Walk us through it, Lisa.
Okay, Shane. Well, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, led off debate on the value-added tax amendment bill in the lower house. He announced that government is moving to implement a system to ensure people and businesses are paid what they're owed by government in a timely fashion. Now, the minister noted that between 2008 and 2016, VAT refunds owed to businesses surpassed $100 million, which he said resulted in missed opportunities for small businesses.
By us, and it's us, by the previous government, allowing such a large stock of, and this is just VAT refunds, sir. It's just VAT refunds. This does not, I'm not talking at all about the near $400 million for goods and services that were also not paid to thousands of businesses in this country. The reality is, sir, that by allowing a situation like that to occur, that very action, sir, would have prevented many a business the ability to expand.
As mentioned before, the bill makes provisions for outstanding VAT payments between 1996 and 2000 to be written off and the associated penalties waived. Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Trade, Sandra Husbands, believes this will encourage more entrepreneurs to register their businesses. She says many have not done so out of fear they would be required to pay not only this year's taxes, but past years as well.
That has prevented a lot of them from registering. That has prevented a lot of them from coming forward when you have special initiatives for them. When you go out and you do surveys and you're asking for information, you can't get the information because people are terrified that the taxman will come after them. And this has presented a severe problem for us in the area of services. Up to now, Barbados cannot properly quantify how much work or business is done in terms of services and what export of services we have, because people don't want to share because they are afraid of tax.
Well, opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley also loaned his voice to the debate. He believes a list of companies which are granted write-offs should be made public.
The current context in Barbados, where we are so concerned about transparency and openness and accountability and integrity and all of the like, we cannot expose ourselves to the possible charge that we are guided by considerations of clientelism or personal connections or party favors.
Bishop Atherley also thinks there should be a cap on the amounts to be written off.
Certainly there should be a certain floor or minimum amount which should not be able to escape the scrutiny of public interest or public view.
The opposition leader cautioned the House that it must be careful not to send a message that companies can get away with not paying VAT because government would eventually write off that debt.
The path is now clear for women to be nominated and appointed as bishops in the Anglican Church. Bishop of Barbados, the Right Reverend Michael Maxwell, says this was one of the major changes stemming from the passage of resolutions at the just concluded Provincial Synod in Trinidad and Tobago.
It is now going to be included that ordination is now eligible for females, not just to the diaconate or to the priesthood, but also to the episcopal office in terms of becoming bishops. And so dioceses are now free to actually, if it's time for the election of a bishop, to be able to elect a female if that person is, of course, nominated and duly elected. They have the free will to go ahead and have a female bishop within their diocese.
Local Kadooment band leaders are happy with the news they will receive duty-free concessions from government. Speaking at a meeting with fellow band leaders, President of the Barbados Association of Masqueraders, Chetwin Stewart, says the move was long overdue. He says once it is implemented quickly, band leaders will reap some benefits.
A lot of this stuff still comes in all the time because remember, we don't have that kind of money to bring in everything one time, so we do wait to registration and stuff to get money to bring in stuff. So it's an ongoing process. You know, a lot of the materials that would take long probably were purchased. They might not have reached the island yet. So that is very good that when it comes, in case like feathers and stuff, when they come through now, there should be no duties on those.
Mr. Stewart says it is still too early to calculate savings or reduced prices for this year's packages.
It's very difficult to tell, but we know for sure that if we have the concessions, we will be able to save money. Unfortunately, going forward now with next year, a bank will be able to sit down earlier and plan and see exactly what they will save and be able to then reduce the price of the package, because that is why we need the concessions and stuff, because we are fighting a market.
The representatives of the island's nurses are remaining tight-lipped about yesterday's meeting to discuss the ongoing impasse, which has delayed the rollout of 24-hour polyclinic services in Barbados. Last evening, NUPW Acting General Secretary Delcia Burke told us that the nurses would get the chance to outline all of their concerns to her union, as well as the Nurses Association and the Unity Workers Union. She says they will now take the nurses' plight to the Ministry of the Public Service in a meeting slated for Thursday. And until then, they are keeping the demands of the nurses close to their chest.
The nurses gave us their position, and we are going back with the position to the PS and civil service.
Okay, and for real, said the position of the nurses, what they want is reasonable?
Yes, they would say so. They would say so. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're looking forward to good relations when you meet with the ministry?
Yeah, I expect it to be cordial again.
Checking in with our regional neighbors now, the 49th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank's Board of Governors officially gets underway tomorrow morning. President of the CDB, Dr. Warren Smith, has been talking about the significance of the meetings in helping to set the bank's agenda, while also directing closer attention to the region's comments under the Sustainable Development Agenda. Our Ryan Broom is in Trinidad covering the 5-day meeting with the compliments of the BIDC, the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation, and LIAT.
Dr. Smith says the theme of this year's annual meeting is transformation, and that represents a logical extension of and progression from last year's theme, when the emphasis was on resilience building against the background of climate change. This year, the findings and recommendations of related CDB finance studies on resilience building, agriculture, and digital and financial technology will be presented. The CDB president adds that as part of this year's meeting, there's also the Vibesing Regional Youth Outreach Program, or Vibesing 2019, which is a youth-led innovation regional transformation. He says this year's expanded program is the bank's response to feedback received from the youth across its borrowing member countries. Meanwhile, the major event scheduled for later today will be the 20th William G. Demas Memorial Lecture, which will be held in the auditorium of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. The featured speaker for the lecture will be Callum Cameron of Proud Engineers in Estonia, who will be speaking on the topic, Transforming to a Digital Society, Principles and Challenges. Reporting from the Hyatt Regency in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, I'm Ryan Broom for CBC News.
Guyana's Ministry of Agriculture has confirmed cases of the suspected duck hepatitis virus in that country. However, it has urged people not to panic as the disease is being contained. We hear more in this TVG report.
The Trinidadian government has banned the imports of poultry, raw and cooked, from entering its country once these items are coming from Guyana, in light of the recent news of a duck disease affecting ducklings here. But the Agriculture Ministry, through its Guyana Livestock and Development Association GLDA unit, in a press statement today says that such an action by the Twin Island Republic is unnecessary. The association said the duck disease has been contained and restricted to 6 duck farms on the coast of Guyana. It noted that measures implemented, including the closure of its hatchery, the only one in Guyana that hatches duck eggs commercially, have assisted in containing the disease. According to the ministry's release, the disease has not manifested itself in the other poultry sectors, chicken, turkey, and guinea bird, and has only been observed in ducklings between the ages of 3 to 15 days old. As such, the ministry has assured that it is safe to consume all poultry products. Recently, former Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy lashed out at the coalition government for not informing the country about the virus. He pointed to the fact that not only did it fail to inform the populace of the outbreak, but it was also unaware of the ban by its Caribbean neighbor.
Caribbean governments have been advised by the Commonwealth Secretary General to recommit to the fight against corruption. Baroness Patricia Scotland says nations must put their words into action. The advice came at the 5th meeting of the Commonwealth Caribbean Association of Integrity Commissions and the anti-corruption bodies in the Cayman Islands. We have a report from Cayman 27.
All in this room today as we are part of the global fight against corruption.
The Commonwealth Caribbean Association of Integrity Commissions and anti-corruption bodies is aiming to take a bite out of the big business of corruption.
Globally, we are facing a tidal wave of corruption. The IMF estimates that bribery costs roughly between $1.5 to $2 trillion annually.
With these social and economic consequences at stake, Commonwealth Secretariat Patricia Scotland QC says the Commonwealth has developed 22 anti-corruption benchmarks. They cover topics ranging from sanctions for corruption offenses to investigating and prosecuting authorities, political lobbying, and the disclosure of asset ownership.
I really hope that since Cayman has been at the forefront of a lot of these issues, that they will help by taking up the benchmarks, by helping us to implement them.
And while Cayman